Welcome back to Horn Takes, your Texas football and baseball talk destination. I am Sean Redfern. It is Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, everybody out there. We had an absolute great live stream last night with Chris Phillips, Dave Shoemate of SEC Unfiltered. Guys, check that out and be looking for more live streams. We'll be doing those things quite a bit as we head into baseball season, as we finish up football season. We'll be trying to get more guys on the live streams. Today we're going to do Trace Otra games recap, the college football playoff edition. And then we'll do the after action review on this Texas versus Clemson game. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. If you just like to listen to podcasts, you can find us at Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, all the podcasts. You can also find us at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. If you just like audio, you can go there. Again, I highly, highly recommend just subscribing to the YouTube channel because we put a whole lot of stuff up there now. I don't do as much stuff on TikTok anymore, which I should because that's where I have the most followers. That's where I started a million years ago. Trace Otra games, college football playoff round 1 edition. I hope y'all like my hat. I love my hat. And I did not copy this hat from Nash Talks Texas. I had this hat already. But I like Nash's hat. I hope he likes mine. We were 30-12 coming in to the college football playoff round 1 in Trace Otra games. So we're having ourselves a really, really nice season. We obviously want to keep that rolling. We just did all the playoff games outside of the Texas game. We started out with number 10, Indiana, at number 7, Notre Dame. Man, we thought Notre Dame would get it done. We thought Indiana would cover. And we thought the weather was going to be a lot worse than the weather was, and that's kind of why we picked kind of a low-scoring game. We had 17-13 Notre Dame. Notre Dame, of course, wins at 27-17. And everybody just starts talking about how, yeah, Indiana doesn't belong. I don't know how. It's funny how this weekend played out. And we'll talk about this more, and I really want to talk about this more when I have like 2 hours that I can just sit down with some guys and just talk about the college football playoff and how they choose teams and what should be the criteria and what weight should we put on the eye test. But nonetheless, Indiana just gets absolutely shredded, and the committee gets shredded because they lost by 10 points to Notre Dame on the road. And yeah, they weren't that competitive. It didn't look great. But what happened the next day just made it all that more funny that Friday night, everybody's just destroying the committee in Indiana. Next game, number 11, SMU at number 6, Penn State. Again, we thought, just like headed into the ACC championship game against Clemson, we thought that SMU team was good. They're just not quite ready for the big time yet. They're playing big boy ball with Penn State, and this is just something that roster, that coaching staff, that program, the culture of that program, not quite ready to do yet. And they had to go on the road, and they had to do it in some really cold temps as well. SMU had a great year, especially their first year back in a Power 4 conference. Kudos to SMU, but we thought we'd get Penn State 27-17. Penn State ends up just dropping a bomb on SMU, 38-10, mainly led by 2 pick sixes. I mean, that score was close for a long time until SMU starts throwing pick sixes. I believe the first 14 points of the game for Penn State were off turnovers, and they were both pick sixes. Tough to win when you give the ball away like that. And one of them, a better throw, is a touchdown for SMU. It was just a really bad throw. So we're 2-0 headed into the rubber match. I guess it ain't the rubber match. We're 2-0, baby. Number 9, Tennessee. Number 8, Ohio State. Man, I like Tennessee on the road this one, man. I just really feel like they'd be able to run the football. I thought that offensive line would hold up better than it did I thought the defense would hold up better than it did. You heard all week on Twitter about Tennessee fans bringing it. They were coming. They were going to show up. They were taking over Columbus. They were going to plant flags. They had me convinced. I had Tennessee in another low-scoring game, and I thought all these games would be a little more low-scoring than they were. I had them 23-17 over Ohio State, and man, I didn't get to see the whole Ohio State game. I got back to the hotel after our game. We left the game. We went and looked at the lights down there. They put up a whole bunch of Christmas lights this year on the drag, right on Guadalupe there, right outside of campus. And my wife just really wanted to check that out. I like Christmas lights too. I was down with it too. So we left. We walked out of campus a different way than we ever have before. And we went and checked out all the lights. So we spent quite a bit of time down there. And by the time we got back to the hotel, we were just hungry. We wanted something to eat. We ordered us a pizza. Did it old school, eating pizza in the bed. Tried to watch some football. By the time we were done with that, man, all the beer, all the emotion of the day, just the excitement of that Texas Longhorn college football playoff win just had me whipped, man, and I fell smooth asleep. So I didn't even see the rest of the game. It was pretty bad already when I was kind of dozing off. Ohio State just absolutely dump trucked Tennessee, 42-17. So for all the people out there talking about, you got to get Ole Miss, you got to get Bama in because of what happened to SMU and what happened to Indiana. And again, Indiana lost by 10 points. It's not like Indiana got ran out of Notre Dame Stadium. But a lot of those people, man, I don't know how you reconcile Alabama and Ole Miss needing to be in over SMU and Indiana with Tennessee just flat out getting their cocks knocked in the dirt in the first round of the playoff. Tennessee's a team that beat Alabama. How do we know Alabama and Ole Miss wouldn't have had the same thing happen to them? That's what I don't get about the whole discussion, and I'm not going to get into it completely here because I could rant and rave for a long time about that, and someday I probably will. Well, we go 2-1 in our first round of the college football playoffs. Trace Otra games, 32-13 on the season. That's pretty good. I haven't averaged that up, but it's pretty good. Close to 66%, I believe. So we'll take that. After action review on this Texas versus Clemson game. Folks, we had our 4 keys and a prediction that went out. I think the show was on Thursday. Yeah, the show went live on Thursday. If you follow us on Twitter, you saw a lot of clips from that and stuff from that. And so all that information went out on Thursday, Friday. But the 4 keys for this game for me: protect the football, score touchdowns, win at the line of scrimmage, and be willing to stray away from the game plan if it's not working, if you're Steve Sarkisian. I thought they protected the football great. There was 1 interception, and I don't think it was Quinn's fault. It was a drop. I mean, when you talk about protecting the football, that's not just the quarterback not throwing it to the wrong guy. It's catching the ball when he hits you in the hands. It's holding on to the ball when you got it in your hands. It's all those things. So technically, they didn't protect the football, but they protected the football enough. I think we said when we talked about this, they, at the very least, they need to be tied with Clemson in turnovers. Like they cannot be in the red there. That's exactly what they did. Clemson doesn't turn the ball over. Clemson takes the ball away a lot, and Texas did an outstanding job. And again, Quinn's going to get that interception on his record, but that was not him at all. I mean, he hit the dude right in the hands. I was talking last night on the stream with Chris and Dave, and Chris said it. He's like, man, you just know Quinn Ewers is just going to always throw an interception. And a lot of them aren't even his fault, and that's fair. And we talked about it on Thursday on that 4 Keys show. This team's just going to turn the ball over. That's what they're going to do. So the defense has to take the ball away. We have to figure out a way to even that. Like if we could run through the rest of the playoffs without turning the ball over, this Texas team probably be really tough to beat. We said they got to score touchdowns. We came off of the SEC championship game against Georgia, where in the first half, for sure, just absolutely dominated Georgia. Just could not get the ball in the end zone. And it just goes to show you can dominate games in a lot of statistical areas. We see it all the time. But there's one little area where you don't, and it costs you. And that's exactly what happened against Georgia. So Texas had to score touchdowns headed into this because we knew that Clemson offense, we knew Cade Klubnik could work. We knew that he had some talented receivers. Some of them are young, but they're talented. And they're tough matchups. Texas scores 5 touchdowns on the day. I think you could call that a win on the score touchdown key. Win at the line of scrimmage. The other thing that happened in that Georgia game, and it was happening in the run game. I think they held up okay early in that Georgia game against the pass rush. But the defensive line towards the end of that game was really, really having trouble keeping pace with that Georgia offensive line in the run game. And so we needed this. We needed the big guys, the big humans on both sides of the ball to get back on top. I think for the most part, they did a really good. The offensive line absolutely did. 292 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns on the ground, only 2 sacks. One of them was a slide, and everybody is giving Quinn Ewers shit about that slide. And I got to admit, watching it live, I was like, what in the hell is he doing? And then there was a story where Trey Owens said that there was a lineman downfield, so Quinn just slid. No, there wasn't. I didn't see a lineman downfield. I watched that play as I was putting together clips for today's show just to see what the hell happened. There was not a lineman downfield that I saw. There was a guy that was past the line of scrimmage, but I don't think he would have got a penalty for being down the field. He was engaged. He was within 2 or 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. But all that being said, Quinn Ewers might have got one more yard if he runs and puts his head down. He's about to get smacked. He absolutely made the right play to get down. Everybody gives Quinn Ewers shit for not getting down soon enough at Texas A&M. Cost us a fumble. And now when he does get down quick, he made a heady play. He knew he wasn't going to get any more. I've never seen anything like, yeah, I have, Chris Sims. Man, this Texas fan base just loves to bash them some Quinn Ewers, and it's sad. He's not perfect, right? We all know that. He may not be the savior that we all thought he was going to be. There's still time for that part of the book to be written. But he's a damn good quarterback. He's gotten Texas, and not by himself, but with his help, him playing a major role. Texas is back on top, folks. You got to respect the man for that. Clemson only had 76 yards on the ground. I know their running back was banged up, but they have some bodies to throw at it. You know, I mean, I know they brought in a wide receiver to run, but he did really well. Thought the defensive line early in the game was really giving Klubnik a lot of pressure. And then I think, you know, schematically they did some things late to just kind of they just didn't want to be in a position to give up some big plays. So I think they dialed back some of the pressure, which led to some of those pass plays, which led to everybody losing their minds about people getting beat and the defense not being that good and the secondary not being that good and all that stuff. So I'm going to take that as a win as well. So far, we're 3 for 3 on wins on the 4 keys. Be willing to stray from the plan when the plan isn't working. This is one of the things we've talked a lot about, Steve Sarkisian. Just He kind of says, "This is what I want to do, and I don't care what you do. I'm going to keep trying to do that because that's what I feel like we do best, and that's what I want us to do." Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you get thrown a changeup. Sometimes you see something from a defense that you've just never seen. We saw that a few times this year, I think, and we didn't adjust to it very well. Well, I don't know what the game plan was coming in, but I know what started working and what Steve Sarkisian stuck with. And kudos to him. That's one of the things. That's another criticism I've had of him is, man, we'll run the ball, do pretty well, and I'm talking early in games. We'll run the ball and do pretty well, and then come out another series and just won't even try to attempt it. Like, why? What are we doing? He's very impatient, and he's got to see the big plays. If the Texas offensive line and running back group can give him some big plays early in the running game, I don't know what the statistics around it would be, but it's a lot more likely that he's going to stick with it, and we're going to see Texas just grind it out on the ground. So kudos to him. Once they saw it, they just kind of stuck with it there in the first half and ran the ball all up and down the field on Clemson. What I don't understand is why in the first 3 drives of the second half, we only ran the ball 11 times out of 23 plays on those drives. So 47.8% of the time in the first 3 drives of the second half did we run the ball. And if you'll notice, that's when the offense just kept sputtering. We couldn't do shit. We let Clemson have some life and get back in the game. What do you guys think the numbers were in the first half? Well, I've got them right here. We ran the ball 21 of 35 plays in the first half, 60%. So almost a 13% difference from the first half to those first 3 drives of the second half in just the number of running plays or just the sort of dispersion of those plays. We almost, I mean, we kind of flipped from a running team to a passing team early in the third quarter. And I don't understand why. So again, I don't know what his game plan was. I know what it should have been coming out from halftime. And I know what we saw. I got to say, he's getting better to me. And I know everybody's going to be different. Some people are going to think this criticism is unwarranted, and that's fine. I love Steve Sarkisian. I've said that a million times. I'll say it a million more, I'm sure. I love my wife too, but that doesn't mean there's things that she doesn't do that irritate me and I wish she wouldn't do or I wish she would do. It's not hating for me to go, man, wife, I wish you would do this or I wish you would not do that. So it's not hating on Steve Sarkisian for me to just say, man, I think he struggles with this. And it's not just me. I have people that are not Texas fans tell me this all the time. Like, what is he doing? Why does he do that? I don't have an answer for it. The only answer I can think of is he does like to throw the ball and he does like to create big plays. And sometimes in the run game, you're just not going to get that. So 3 out of 4 ain't bad on the keys. A prediction, I expected a slow start from Texas offensively. I thought they would start slow. And I had people telling me, "Oh, this is such a terrible take after the game." Such a terrible take. Well, yeah, it ended up being a terrible take. But what about the last 4 or 5 games? I think 4 of the last 5 games or 3 of the last 4 games, Texas has scored 20 points or less every single game. And they struggled and they started slow and it just took them a while to finally get anything on the board. So what about, of course it ended up being a bad take for that game because that's not what happened. But you can't look at the last few games and tell me you thought. And actually, there was dumbasses out there saying it. Texas is going to win 48 to. I'm like, what are we talking about here? It's one thing to like be positive about your team. It's another thing to just like ignore what's in front of you and ignore what you've seen multiple times, like in the recent past. Like I'm not going back 5 years and going, man, we couldn't do this, so there's no way we could do it today. This is like the last few games. So kudos to them for not starting out slow. I thought the defense would play well, and I thought they'd keep Texas in it while the offense was playing slow, and I kind of got that wrong too. I mean, the defense started out really good, and I don't think it's personnel. I don't think it's people getting beat. I don't think it's physical battles necessarily. I think just schematically they went away from what they did for the first half, and Clemson was able to take advantage of it. We thought Texas would win. We thought they would not cover. We expected a close game, a tight game, a low-scoring game. I had Texas 23-17. Ends up being 38-24. So I'll take the win. I'm happy for all you folks that thought Texas was going to win in a blowout. If you bet money on it, I'm doubly happy for you that you won some money. I just didn't see that. Statistically, this one got a lot closer than it should have. Texas had 494 yards of total offense, Clemson 412. Clemson, first team all season to go over 300, I believe, on Texas through the air, 336. Cade Klubnik had himself a day. Texas had 202 yards passing quietly, but nicely and efficiently. Texas, Quinn Ewers, 17-24. That's just a tick north of 70% completion percentage. Klubnik, 26-43, so they threw the ball all over the park. Just a tick north of 60% completions. Not great, pretty good though. And he put the ball into some places, especially late, made some plays. He had 3 touchdowns through the air. Quinn Ewers had the one interception apiece. Rushing yards, 292 for Texas, 76 for Clemson. 6.1 yards per carry for Texas, 3.2 yards per carry for Clemson. 4 touchdowns on the ground. That's huge. Nobody fumbled the ball, or nobody lost it. Texas was 50% on third downs. That's big. Clemson 25.5% on third downs. Not good. Fourth down really killed Texas. They were 25% on 4 attempts. 80% in the red zone for Texas, 66% for Clemson. Big goal line stop. Almost got another one, man. How cool would that have been for that Texas defense if they just don't lose that guy in coverage and get that first one done? 2 penalties for Texas for 10 yards, 5 penalties for 65 on Clemson. Most of those were pass interference. 3 sacks for Texas, 2 for Clemson. So it ended up statistically being a pretty close game, except there in the running game, where Texas just absolutely dominated. Players that popped, the Texas O-line, man. Give it to every last one of them. 38 carries for 291 yards and 4 touchdowns for the backs. 7.65 yards per carry for the backs. I take the quarterbacks out. I take the wide receiver runs out when I talk about the running game, because I don't really count those things as running game, because sacks count against that, and I think that's the stupidest thing ever. Thought Quinn had time in the passing game. Never just a ton of pressure unless they wanted it. And man, special shout out to Trevor Gooseby and Cole Hudson for stepping up when Jake Majors and Cam Williams go down in the first half of that game. There's not a lot of offensive lines in the country that could lose 2 guys. Your center and your right tackle, and have a guy come off the bench in Cole Hudson that hasn't got a lot of playing time this year, if at all. I mean, he's had to have played some, but nothing very meaningful in terms of like how his performance could outcome the game. Trevor Gooseby for the second game in a row plays one of the tackle positions, coming off the bench. Well, I guess he didn't come off the bench in the SEC championship game. He came off the bench in the Aggie game, played the SEC championship game at left tackle, and then comes in and plays right tackle in this one when Cam gets hurt. Another great job. And they weren't just like holding their own. They're like making plays. They're like blocking people. We'll show you Cole Hudson a little later on. Cole Hudson's a guy that started, I think, as a freshman at Texas. He was one of the original Texas Longhorns under Steve Sarkisian. Maybe, I don't know if he came, I can't remember if he came in that first class or if he was there already. But he got recruited over, and he didn't pout, and he didn't leave, and he didn't take his ball and go home. He just kept playing football. So really cool moment for him to get to come in the second half of that game and get to contribute. That's what being on a team's about, contributing. So kudos again to that offensive line. They were outstanding. Jaden Blue got to be the number 2 guy. 14 carries, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, 10.4 yards per carry. His speed is just absolutely deadly, man. If you can get he's not the biggest guy. He's still not a small guy. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, he's Jaden Blue is small." He's not small. He weighs almost 200 pounds. That's not small. But he's not a big bruiser, and I'll grant that. But man, his speed, you get that guy where he just jogged down the field on that 77. Once he cleared those guys, he was in jog mode. And those guys were in a dead sprint trying to catch him, and they didn't have a chance. The earlier run for a touchdown, his speed to get around the corner the way he did, just beat people, just destroy angles. Another guy that, man, struggled earlier this year, had a lot of turnovers. Really got passed up, by Trey Wisner. Just kind of went from a guy that, once CJ Baxter got hurt, everybody kind of looked to Jaden Blue and said, "All right, man, you're the veteran. You're the guy." And he struggled early in the season. So for him to be able to come back and have a game like that in a big time game, in a playoff game, that's awesome, man. Again, that's what being on the team's all about. For Jaden Blue to even be here is kind of wild, man. I mean, he came in behind some really good running backs, and he stuck around when a lot of other guys would have just packed up and went somewhere else. Gunnar Helm, 6 catches, 77 yards for a touchdown. Set the single season let me back up. Set the single season tight end receptions record at Texas in that game on Saturday. Another guy, man, that Gunnar Helm was the blocking tight end. Nobody on the planet thought Gunnar Helm was going to turn into what Gunnar Helm has turned into this year, except for Gunnar Helm and the coaching staff and the strength and conditioning group, and all the people that can turn you into what he's turned into. They all believed in him. Obviously, he believed in himself. Sure, his folks believed in him. Like, we don't have to. Let's not list the obvious. He's had an amazing season. Good for Gunnar Helm. Keep it up, big man. I think honorable mention for me, this one's tough. There's a lot of them you could probably honorable mention. And I want to make it clear, this is not who played the best games. These are guys that popped off the screen at me. So honorable mention for me, Barron Sorrell and Ethan Burke, man. I thought it was good to see Ethan Burke get a sack, and he looked good. He got a lot of playing time in this game. He looked good. Same for Barron Terrell. He gets a sack. He gets a knockdown ball that turns into an interception. He made a play on the goal line stand. Those are the players that pop. Let's check tape. We talked about it. If you watch the game, you know this Texas running game, and particularly the outside zone. And we've had our differences with the zone blocking schemes. They work, obviously, clearly. I mean, Texas has had some games this year where they've run zone and just tore people's asses up with it. My only sort of like, I think you got to be able to do something different. I think you got to be able to get more downhill, and you got to do it with a little more power scheme, a little less zony. Like, let's get some hats on some hats and let's move some people. When you're playing teams like Georgia, when you're playing teams like Ohio State, playing teams like Notre Dame, even, it's just really hard for the big dancing bears to block as long as you got to block on some of those slow developing zone plays. But the outside zone in particular was outstanding in this game. Got Clemson here. They're in kind of a run weak look. They've got 4 down linemen, and they got 2 linebackers in the game, but one of them's way off the line of scrimmage. One of them's just kind of, it just looks unsound to me. And Texas is going to catch Clemson running some games down here at the bottom of the defensive line. And man, this is beautiful because they handle this really, really well. The reason you run stunts is to confuse people and get people on your defensive line on their side of the offensive line, and nobody's blocking them. And man, Texas did an outstanding job with this. You're going to see that down tackle and that end. They're just going to run like a little X stunt, loop stump, whatever you want to call it. 44 is going to move in underneath. The end's going to go to the outside. DJ Campbell is going to absolutely take that guy that's moving to the outside and just push him where he wants to go. Jake Major is going to have an outstanding block on that loop stunt coming inside to get a reach on that. That's where you blow it up right there. And then Cam Williams has the ability to get up to the backer. He does it. Watch how this play opens up. There's a little loop. There's Jake Majors getting his hat on him, getting it across. And then you're going to see DJ Campbell just continue to push that defensive tackle way out here past the 40-yard line. Cam Williams gets up on the linebacker. You get a decent block on the outside on the edge here. 3rd and 10. Beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. Here we're in 21 personnel. Quinn's going to look up and audible on this. He's going to see 5 on 5. If you look at the top of the screen here, I'll pause it. You got a nose tackle, you got a tackle, you got an end, you got a way split out end. That's really in man coverage on that H-back. And then you got the linebacker over there. So the 5 guys on 5 guys. And watch how good of a job this Texas offensive line and tight ends do. Just getting a hat on a hat. Cam Williams is going to have an outstanding hook block. Juan Davis is going to turn out that top man on the line of scrimmage there. Gunnar Helm going to get up on the linebacker, make a nice block, and then watch the speed. We'll pause it at the point of attack. Boom. Everybody's got a hat on a hat. And then keep watching. You're going to see Juan Davis turn his man out. You're going to see Cam Williams hook his man. You're going to see Gunnar Helm get an outstanding block on that linebacker. And there's just a lane for days right there. And then the speed to just outrun the angles. Beautiful, man. I mean, I'm not sure the Texas running game has looked that precise all season long. And I know Clemson's not a great rushing defense. but they did this about as well as you could do it for most of the game. I think the motion here, we're about to see this play. The motion there, I think, is going to change the strength of this offense for the defense, and they're going to get into a little shift. They're going to slant. You're going to see Helm and Williams just cave all this stuff down. And actually, that might be Gooseby at this point in the game. Either way, they're going to cave it all down. Campbell and Major's going to pull out. Campbell is going to get an absolutely devastating kick out block. Major's going to lead up in the hole and really block two guys. And you're going to see Wisner go untouched. There they go. You see that slant. They're all slanting down to the bottom of the formation. Watch big Cam Williams, or excuse me, DJ Campbell on this kick out block. Pretty sick. Boom. See ya. And then Majors gets his two. And then you got to give the big man some props for dancing, man. Big man, big number 65, man, you don't look that good dancing. Ain't supposed to look that good dancing. It wasn't all run game. Quinn had some plays as well. He had a play down the field, man, earlier. I didn't clip it up because I really thought it was – I mean, it worked, right? They got the ball down the field. It was a completion, but I really thought the throw was not great. I think it was another one of those – it's a touchdown if you put it in a better spot plays. What I don't know is if it was supposed to be a post or if he led him into the middle of the field with a post. If it was a post, it was a really deep post. Because I feel like he didn't start breaking to the middle of the field till after the ball was gone. And maybe that's what it was supposed to be. But this play, Quinn does a great job, man. Clemson's blitzing on this little tight end screen. And honestly, I have no idea how Quinn Ewers got this ball off. And once he gets it off, like, look at him right there. You got a guy about to tackle you. You got a guy like right next to Gunnar Helm. I have no idea how he got the ball to Gunnar Helm, but he put the voodoo on it and got it there. And then watch Helm with a really, really good one-handed stab. And once they got this ball to him, Clemson was so out-leveraged. This was going to be a pretty nice pickup. I'm surprised it didn't go for a little bit more. That's a great little one-handed stab. Get some guys out front, get Helm down the tracks. Nice little play. Switching over to the defense, man, I thought just as a whole, this was probably like the worst game the defense has played all season. But they still made some plays. Broughton and Burke right here are going to work a little X stunt. Burke's going to beat his man to the inside like a redheaded stepchild, and Klubnik does not have a chance. He comes around. No chance. None. Then we're going to watch Big Baron Sorrell on this one. Watch the hands. Watch the rip move. Right here, rip. Klubnik again, no chance. The Texas defensive line really, really came after Klubnik hard early in this game. And it paid off. They had some big plays. Here's another one. Defensive line coaches, if you don't get home, get your hands up. Watch Baron Sorrell. He's right there, probably like a 5 technique, 4 technique. He's going to come inside on a little loop stunt. Cannot get home, but what's he do? He's going to get his hands up. Big Colin Williams. Right there, knocked it down. Colin Williams, interception for his first takeaway as a Longhorn. He's forced 3 fumbles. He's had the sacks. He's had the tackles for loss. He's been versatile. Now he finally gets himself a turnover. He was excited. He was really excited going to the sideline so he could get the, what do they call it? I don't even know what they call it. The Excalibur sword, the Horns Caliber. I got to figure out what they call it because I got to get that right. Then we go into the goal line stand late in the game. This is a really good series right here by the Texas defense. This part right here, they got set up right there, 1st and goal from the 5 on a pass interference or a holding or something in the end zone. Not exactly sure which one it was. Texas going to be in man. Watch this really good coverage by Gavin Holmes on this slant. They're going to work the tight end, who you can barely see his legs coming out from my picture. They're going to work the tight end to the outside and gain some depth, and then the outside wide receivers coming in on the slant. I'm really surprised he didn't go to the tight end here, but Gavin Holmes has just like lockdown coverage on this play. Just really nice. He would have had to throw a perfect pass. I don't know why he didn't go to 9 at the top. I think that would have been money. Got a man look again. To me, this is QB draw all the way, but he's a little late. See the running back run up in the hole, but he just kind of gets a late start. But you got Jelani McDonald and who else? Big Alfred Collins running him down from behind to stop Klubnik at the 1. 3rd and 1. Clemson going to go a little speed option. David Benda. Watch David Benda playing linebacker. You're going to see him come right at the snap. David Benda just does David Benda stuff. Blows up a block. Leona LaFowl scrapes into the mess, and they both combine for a nice stop on 3rd down. Big time right there. And then play number 4. Clemson goes with a little inverted wishbone out of the gun. Watch Sorrell come off the edge. He's pinching as hard as you can pinch. And then watch Big Bill Norton defeat his man at the point of attack, and they combine to mess this up. Look at this. Look how far down Sorrell is. If they get him pinned right there, that might be a touchdown. But they don't even mess with him, and he's just blowing up the whole thing right now. And you can see Norton. Norton has got his guy in some trouble right now. He's just going to push that block off, and they're going to combine for the 4th down stop right there in the middle. Nice play. Nice way to come back for the defense. They had them the drive before, I believe. 4th and 6, 7, something like that, and gave up a pass play for a touchdown. But that was the one that really sealed the deal right there, protected that 14-point lead. The offense was good. The defense at times was good. I think, though, to me, the biggest key of this game was the answers by Texas. Clemson takes the opening kickoff. They go right down the field on a 12-play, 75-yard drive, capped off by this little 3rd and 7, little kind of double pick type deal. Easy touchdown, easy walk-in touchdown. You want to talk about a deflated fan base at that point. We were just like, what the hell? We weren't expecting that. We were not expecting the defense to give up a touchdown drive. I believe that is Texas's first touchdown given up in the first quarter all season. But what's Texas do? They take the ball, they go right down the field on their own 12-play, 75-yard drive that took up 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Both these offenses chewed up almost the entire first quarter with their first drives. And you got a nice little counter run by Trey Wisner here. They give Wisner just a big enough little crease, and he does the rest. He's got one man to beat. He puts his head down, drives him into the end zone for a touchdown. So big answer for Texas right there. Later on in the half, there's 11 minutes, 37 seconds left. Got a 32-yard attempt for a field goal to cut the lead to 11. It's a big play for Clemson. They hadn't had a great go of it. They kicked this and played defense for a minute and a half. And they're only down 11. That's a touchdown, 2-point conversion, and a field goal. That's a 2-point game, 2-score game, I mean. And just a minute later, Texas on the doorstep. Watch the play side safety get caught looking in the backfield just a little too long. Gunnar Helm gets behind him. Quinn lays it right over the top, nice and pretty, for a nice little touchdown to make it 28-10 at the half. Big answer, again, by that Texas offense. Clemson already had one second half touchdown to cut the lead to 14. Here they are on 4th and 6, 4th and 7 from the goal line, or 4th and goal, rather, from the 6. To score a touchdown with 11:44. Cut that lead to 7. At this point, this game has gone from, man, we are in sole control of this game, to what the hell happened. Pivotal moment in this game. Pivotal moment for the Texas offense to do something with the football because they'd really struggled to this point. Outside of their opening drive of the third quarter where they kicked a field goal, they hadn't really done much. And then 2 plays later, literally the exact same pre-snap look on Blue's first touchdown run, except it's flipped. The formation is flipped, and now Helm's not covered up. Or excuse me, now Helm is covered up. So you're going to see Helm Davis with the little turnout blocks. You're going to see Banks get up to the linebacker. Watch Cole Hudson at that left guard position. He has a great block on the interior to keep this thing sprung, to get this thing sprung. Just watch how beautiful it is. We'll pause it. There's your 2 kickouts. There's your big Cole Hudson right there. Getting his body across. Keeping that defensive lineman from getting into that hole. This is a great block, folks. I mean, absolutely great. And then Banks going to get up on the linebacker. Look at that. Too much speed. And Jaden Blue's jogging right now, and they still can't catch him. And Darrell K. Royal goes absolutely insane. Folks, we talked in our prediction about how we thought that it might be a little dead. Just with all the Christmas stuff going on, the playoff games by 2 Austin teams in Dallas that same very day. Lots of tickets on sale, man. I just thought it kind of would, man, this was a jacked up Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium crowd. So kudos. Promise I'm not crying. I'm just choking to death. Final thoughts. Woo. Sorry, folks. Offense, man, we said the offense would have to be better if Texas is going to make a run. We talked about those 3 of those 4 previous games, scoring 20 points or less. They absolutely showed up. It was good to see the running game get back on track. To me, this offense is best when Quinn Ewers doesn't have to shoulder the whole burden of moving the team. And he had a really nice, efficient little game. So hopefully we move forward, keep running that football. I thought we got a little cute sometimes. We started passing in the third quarter. I don't know why. We had some drops. Cost us points in this one. Plagued us against Georgia. Again, curtain call for that offensive line. Hudson and Gooseby, good job, young men. Those answers by that Texas offense, huge. Defensively, just kind of a meh performance. We talked about it. Pass rush, not very good in the second half. Coverage, not very good in the second half. 4th down stop was obviously massive. Got a turnover that early in the game. That was good. I'm not worried about the defense at all. It just wasn't that great of a performance. And I don't think they can afford to have another performance like that in this playoff. They're going to have to lock it down, get back to playing the way they were, and I think they will. I think the Texas coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball just really thought that game was where it needed to be. And they just, kind of took their foot off the gas a little. The back end will have to be better. They'll have to play better than that, or we will have problems later on in the playoffs, I think. But on to the Peach Bowl, on to Arizona State. We'll be back on Thursday. We'll have the deep dive on these Arizona State Sun Devils. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Give us a subscribe. Give us a follow. Will not cost you guys a thing, but we sure do appreciate the support. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. You guys have a good Merry Christmas. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy the time with your friends. You guys be safe. Get hooked. Merry Christmas.